And all is good. How are you?
Good. You still tired from the COVID?
Nah, it hit me pretty hard for about a week there, and then I bounced back.
No, good. I'll look a little dark here. Is that a little better?
Yep, you're good.
1 more minute. Everybody ready for the rain tonight and the wind?
Supposed to be really bad, yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Here's David.
Not fun.
God, Eversource has contacted me. Optimum.
Yeah,
Norwalk.
yeah, me too.
All right.
Hi, David.
Hi.
Good evening. It's 5:30 and we have quorum here, so I'll call the meeting to order. Do a roll call. We have myself, Lisa Cooper, Kelly Bloom, and David Westmoreland from the as the commissioners. Staff, we have Katie, Bryan, and Eugenia. Um, any public participation? Anyone out there that wants to join us? No? Seeing none, I'll open the meeting and start with the administration approval of the minutes of the December 12th, 2023 regular meeting. Do I have a motion? Lisa, seconded by David. Um, anyone have any changes, deletions, additions? Everyone's name is spelled correctly? Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes from December 12th? Aye.
I'm just
Unanimous?
going to abstain because I wasn't present.
Okay. 3 yeses and 1 abstention. Next is financials. To approve the Norwalk Redevelopment Agency Statement of Revenues and Expenditures for Operating Fund 100 for the year to date November 30th, 2023. Do I have a motion to approve those? Okay, you seconded, and so we'll uh, open it to you, Eugenia.
Okay. The operating fund 100 had actual revenues of 703,000 versus budgeted revenues of 630,000 for a favorable variance of 73,000. Total actual expenditures of 727,000 versus a budgeted expenses of 802,000 resulted in a favorable variance of $75,000. The actual operating deficit of 25,000 versus a budgeted operating deficit of 173,000 resulted in a favorable variance of 148,000.
Any questions? Observations? Seeing none, I'll call for vote. All in favor of approving the revenues and expenditures for operating fund 100? Unanimous. I'll move on to item 5, business. South Norwalk Community Plan and 2024 US DOT raise grant. We are going to authorize the executive director of the Norwalk Redevelopment Agency to execute agreements with VHB for the South Norwalk Community Plan and the 2024 raise grant application. I turn it over to you, Brian, for more details.
All right, great. So yeah, I included a brief memo and a bit of scope in terms of this particular item. It's sort of two parts. The first is we've been working with the city and the community, kind of building from our South Norwalk train station planning work that we finished in 2022, recognizing a need for a continued community conversation, obviously around development in South Norwalk, really focused on community need now. So obviously economic development was a key focus, and it will continue to be a key focus of this project. But what we heard when we created the community advisory committee for that planning work is, there's concerns with the social impacts of development, and what's that going to mean long term for the community? What does it mean in terms of displacement, gentrification, and things that are very complex things that deserve a good model, deserve good attention to. So what this proposal seeks to do is to do that, just that, and we're building from the plan for the new public school there on South Main. So kind of wanted to take a look at the immediate area around there, but also the Lexington, Eli, overall area. In the scope that you've been provided, that's the draft scope. It's pretty well developed, but we're still going to be finalizing that with the consultant once it's approved. You may have seen an article in Nancy on Norwalk today. There's actually a nice story sort of about this specific project. And we're going to Common Council tonight for final approval. The ECD, Economic and Community Development Committee, approved it last Thursday. And the reason being their approval is that they are funding it. So they're contributing $150,000 of GGP money for this planning study. And that'll take care of the bulk of the planning study. But for our purposes and for the global city purposes, we really want to have some additional economic impact modeling. So if policy recommendations do come up, we want to be able to understand the full economic impact of those decisions. So we're bringing on ESI in conjunction with VHB. We have the existing contract with VHB. ESI would be their sub under this agreement to outline, the tasks that are included there. Probably about a 9 to 12 month planning effort, very similar to the South Norwalk train station study we did. A number of opportunities for community outreach, engagement. We really want to use this opportunity to kind of get the agency, really, at the community level and have honest discussions with people in terms of what their concerns are. I always say part of our job is focused on balance. We're, as I said, economic development, but community development. And what I mean by that is, how do we align our development plans with the social services that are needed, with the community, policy concerns? So it's less of a, vertical development plan, but more of a social development plan. I think it's really innovative, and then it's an approach in that regard. But I think it's an important conversation for our agency to become involved with. So I talked very high level about that. And before I move on to the raise grant component, maybe we could talk a little bit about that if you have any specific questions on the planning program that's put before you.
Does this involve the community center?
Probably just peripherally. It's not specifically around that. It's more focused on, the introduction of the new public school down there on South Main, and then the development and the infrastructure needs that are going to occur as a result of that. But also these sort of larger policy discussions. There's talks, concerns about gentrification. We want to model that. We want to understand the economic impacts of what the new development has caused in the area, so we can help try to address them.
Okay.
And my hope is we're going to develop a list of capital improvement projects or whatever the improvement projects or policies that have a very heavy social equity and environmental focus, and then try to figure out how to balance that with some of the, revenue generating potential of the other economic development projects throughout the urban core.
Okay. Any other questions?
And if you have no other questions, there's two parts to the item. So John, if it's okay, I could just kind of talk real quick to the other one. So the other is somewhat related. It's just another change order to our VHB contract. And effectively what it would be is the RAISE grant. USDOT has the RAISE program. I think it's Rebuilding America's Infrastructure for Sustainability and Equity. And they require a benefit cost analysis to accompany any grant we submit to them. So we have a project concept that we've been developing with Jim Travers' group in the city to firstly address some of the safety issues along MLK, which you'll recall last year we went for the project. We were unsuccessful in that specific attempt. So we retooled it based on feedback we received from DOT. And we're going to be doing more of a bicycle pedestrian multimodal boulevard along MLK. The idea is from Wilson all the way up to the train station to help kind of make that, as Jim Travers kind of refers to it, as an urban boulevard. Two bike lanes, much, opportunities for widening, safety, real full scale service plan. I think it's to the tune right now, the estimate's about $12 million for that project. That's thought of. But what we need to do is to get a benefit cost analysis done. This is a very technical exercise where they're looking at very specific metrics for the type of project we're proposing in relation to its CO2 emission reduction, vehicle miles traveled, all of the metrics that the grant is looking for. So we do need to outsource that, and that's to the tune of $17,500, and that will come out of our city capital account.
Okay. They're gonna be looking at all the trucks that come out of UPS.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think it's one of the big things.
I mean, you get there around 9:15 in the morning, and it's truck after truck all the way up MLK to the Parkway, and it's pretty bad. So if we improve that, it'd be great.
Yeah, the plan for the South Norwalk Community Plan and this will kind of work together to kind of take a look at that holistically, because it's a big issue on multiple fronts.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Observations, comments? Seeing none, we have a motion before us to authorize the executive director of the redevelopment agency to execute the agreements with VHB for the South Norwalk Community Plan and 2024 raise grant application. All in favor? Unanimous? We're moving on. Any other new business you want to bring up, Brian, or anyone else? None? Old business we want to close up? None? Then I'll ask for a vote to go into executive session. We have it. So we voted to go into executive session to discuss check signing policies, the procedures.
Okay, I'm going to stop the streaming and recording, and I'll hand off the host to Brian.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll close everything.